Perfect. Buckle in. Story 8. The eyes went missing first, but I could still see what they saw. It started with the mirrors, not shattering, not cracking, refusing. Refusing to show me. Every mirror in the house turned a blind spot where my reflection used to be. My face disappeared like I'd been erased from reality just a little at a time. I tested it with my phone, took a selfie, white blur, no eyes, just two black hollows where they should have been. I went to the bathroom to rinse my face, told myself it was just stress. But when I turned on the faucet, the water came out red. Not blood, not quite. More like old memory fluid, thick and warm and sour, with little things floating in it. One of them blinked. I didn't sleep that night. Next morning, I couldn't see my face at all in the mirror. Not blurred, not erased, just gone. And then the pain started. Deep behind my eyes, like something was reaching through from behind them, clawing softly, patiently. I went to the ER. They did a scan. The doctor came back white as a wall. You don't have optic nerves. They're not there. But I can see. That's impossible. They admitted me for observation. My room had no mirrors, no TV, no windows, nothing reflective. But in the reflections of things I shouldn't see, stainless steel trays, the surface of a cup, I saw figures lining the walls. Tall, elegant, covered in gauze and obsidian rings. They didn't move, but every time I blinked, they were closer. The nurses started to whisper around me. They wouldn't meet my gaze. One said, not realizing I was awake, "He's not using his own eyes anymore. It's the others." I don't know who the others are, but I started seeing places I wasn't in. A child walking backwards through a school hallway. A hand scribbling words into wet dirt in a language that doesn't curve right. A street that looped around itself forever. I was watching, but not watching. I was seen by proxy. One night I opened my eyes and the world was upside down, not metaphorically, literally upside down. The furniture was on the ceiling. The light was growing out of the floor. And in the corner, two people stood on the wall, having a conversation in reverse. And I could understand them. They were arguing over who got to keep the lens. The last one cracked under pressure. He's holding up better, but we can't keep feeding it his dreams. My dreams changed after that. I wasn't in them. I was behind them. Watching people I've never met. Seeing from their skulls. One girl blinked and I felt it. A man cut his finger and my eyes teared up. I could feel all of them. Then it happened. I woke up in my bed and the pain behind my eyes was gone, completely gone. I felt empty, too light. I looked in the mirror. Nothing. No eyes. Just dark, wet holes, open and clean and humming. But I could see perfectly. Even better. I saw what was on the other side of the wall, what was underground, what was moving in the ceiling. And I saw you reading this, staring just a little too long at this paragraph, wondering if your eyes feel strange. Maybe one feels heavier than the other. Maybe they're starting to hum. Maybe they're not yours anymore either. You can close your eyes, but they won't. Story 9 coming next. We're not slowing down. Perfect. Story 9. The missing person everyone remembers differently. Her name was either Sarah, Mira, or something that sounded like static. They found the posters stapled to telephone poles, left under windshield wipers, taped to mailboxes. Last seen, 3:17 a.m., walking west down Dagger Street. Name, age, If seen, do not speak to her. Contact disappeared after first read. The photo was wrong. Every person who saw it described someone different, a different expression, different hair, different age. Some said it was a girl in a school uniform. Some swore it was a woman in her 40s with eyes like bruises. One kid burst into tears and said, "That's my mom," but she died in 1993. I first saw it on the community board in front of the laundromat. I could have sworn I recognized her. A girl from school, or maybe a neighbor I forgot existed. Her face sat on the tip of my memory like a name I couldn't pronounce. The back of the poster said, "If you think you knew her, she's already found you." I took it down. That night, I had a dream. She was at the foot of my bed, whispering. I couldn't hear the words, but I could feel the meaning. "You left me. You left me. You left me." I woke up with tears in my eyes and an address written on my wrist in what looked like eyeliner. 13 Meridian Lane. Bring something forgotten. I shouldn't have gone. The house didn't exist on GPS, didn't even have a door, just a rotating archway of wallpapered hallways. Every wall was covered in old posters stapled over each other. The same girl, hundreds of versions of her, slightly changed, always watching. In one, she had no mouth. In another, no eyes. In a third, she looked exactly like me. Inside, I found a small room with a table and a rotary phone. On it, a note: "Make her remember you or you'll forget yourself." The phone rang. I picked it up. It wasn't a voice. It was all of them. Everyone who'd ever seen the poster, screaming at once. I blacked out. When I woke up, the house was gone, but the poster was stapled to my chest. Fresh ink, fresh staple. And now when I show it to others, I ask them, "Do you remember her?" And they always say, "Yeah, I think I do." That's the girl who, wait, no, that's not right. Then if you find a poster like this, don't try to help her. She's not lost. She's remembering herself through you. And the more people who try to help her, the fewer of us remember who we are. Perfect. Here's the final story in this epic 3-hour collection. Vanish Story 10. The House That Appeared in My Inheritance. A surreal psychological horror story told in pure narration. When my uncle died, I received a letter by courier, no stamp, no return address, just a wax seal in the shape of a spiral. Inside was a deed for a property I'd never heard of. 27 Holloway Lane. No city, no state, just a name. My uncle's handwriting was on the bottom. It simply read, "Don't trust the floor plan. It changes when you're not looking." I went to the address out of morbid curiosity. There it was, wedged between two vacant lots that had never had buildings before. The house looked like it had been rotting for decades, even though it hadn't existed last week. Its windows were cloudy like cataracts, and the front porch creaked under the weight of breath. Still, I went in. The first room was small, a table, a journal, a key. The journal said, "Each room you pass through remembers you. If you forget them, they will forget you ever left." I thought it was nonsense until I tried to leave. There was no door behind me. Instead, there was now a narrow hallway lined with portraits of people almost familiar, like failed memories painted too vividly. One of them moved slightly when I blinked. Each door I opened led to another impossible room. A hallway filled with ticking clocks, all set to different times. A sitting room where every chair faced a different corner. A kitchen that played audio recordings of meals never eaten. One room had a mirror that didn't reflect me, but a version of me crying silently, covered in dust. I started leaving notes to keep track of where I'd been. Entered red room. Avoid blue hallway. Don't trust the phone, it lies. But the notes started changing. They began answering me. Why did you leave us? You used to live here. You know where this ends. I found a library with only one book. The Book of Rooms. Each page described a place in the house before I found it, but when I tried to read ahead, the pages blurred or bled through. One page said, "The final room is always you. You will be the next inhabitant." I ran. That's when I realized every time I tried to escape, the house added another room. It built outward like memory does, expanding, sprawling, inventing. I saw things. Myself, older, sweeping the hallway like a caretaker. A version of me whispering into the walls like they were listening. A faceless thing that called itself the architect and told me, "We are building you a perfect life, one room at a time." I tried jumping out a window. There was no ground, just more rooms. Endless layers folding inward like a collapsing mind. Now, the house doesn't let me sleep. I don't eat. I don't know if I'm the only one here anymore, or if I'm just one version of someone who's entered before. I found my uncle once. Or maybe it was someone else's uncle. He handed me a key and said, "When you accept that you're part of the floor plan, it hurts less." I think I was supposed to inherit this house. I think I always lived here. I found a birth certificate for someone with my name, dated tomorrow. In the final room, there's a mirror that smiles before I do. And in the center of the basement is a spiral. It's getting wider. In rooms we weren't meant to find. Slow burn narration, whispered dread, architectural horror. Churn. The basement didn't used to be there. We never had a basement. We had a crawl space. We had blueprints. We had a level foundation. And yet, last Sunday, we found a door behind the dryer. Old wood, rusted handle, locked from the inside. It led down to a stone staircase, so old the walls sweated, so deep the light didn't reach the bottom. We turned back. But the next day, the stairs had changed. They were carpeted now, with framed pictures on the wall, family photos. Some of them weren't ours. 2. My bedroom window faces the wrong way, north. That's where my window has always faced, out toward the hill, away from the sun. But last week I opened it, and sunlight poured in. I looked out and saw the ocean. We live in Nebraska. Now, every night I hear the sound of waves crashing, and there's a breeze. But it smells wrong, salt and something sweet. I don't sleep there anymore, but the window still opens itself, and every morning, the bed is wet. 3. The attic has a light switch. There's no power running up there, just insulation, just beams, no wiring, no fixtures. But someone wired in a light switch. And when you flip it on, you hear something turn over, like a body shifting, and the light spills down from the cracks in the boards, but there's no bulb, and nothing ever casts a shadow. 4. I was hired to paint a room that disappeared. It was just a gig, an extra room the landlord said needed color. He handed me a key, told me it was on the 4th floor, only 3 floors in that building. But I found it, a hallway I'd never seen, a white door, no number, just a keyhole that was already warm. Inside, just one chair, one mirror, a perfect cube of space. I painted the walls red. The whole job took 2 hours, but when I came back the next day, the hallway was gone, and I can't find the bucket I used. 5. My friend moved into a house that was demolished in 1998. He showed me pictures. Nice place, yellow siding, porch swing, view of the woods. When I looked it up, the address was real, but the records said the place had burned down 27 years ago. Total loss, no survivors. When I confronted him, he smiled too wide, said, "Yeah, I know, that's why it was so cheap." I drove out there, found the plot, nothing but concrete, weeds, and a mailbox full of fresh mail. All of it addressed to him, from someone named the Upstairs Man. Shit, there are 6. There's a door in our house we're not allowed to see. I live with 3 roommates, and we all agree there's a door at the end of the hall that we pretend isn't there. Not because we're scared, because something tells us not to look. We keep furniture in front of it, we vacuum around it, we talk around it. One day, someone wrote on it in red marker, "If you open this, don't blink." None of us admit to writing it, but it's always wet. And sometimes we hear someone breathing on the other side, syncing up with us, like it's trying to match our rhythm and get in sync, like it wants to. Open with us. Let me know a room that wasn't on the blueprint. Strange construction, extra room, something waiting inside. When we remodeled the old motel, I double-checked the blueprints. Every room accounted for, nothing strange. But when the workers broke through the east wall, they found another door. Room 301. There was no second floor. It was fully furnished. Lamps still plugged in, a cup of tea, steaming, no dust, no signs of decay. A journal on the nightstand was dated 1958, and the last line read, "I hear them building me again." The workers quit. I tried to seal it up, but every week I find the door again, somewhere else, and the room is still warm. 2. The architect drew himself into the floor plan. Obsession, blueprints that evolve, self-erasing design. The man who designed our office building disappeared before it was finished. His blueprints stopped making sense. Doors that led to nowhere, staircases that looped. We laughed until we found the mirror hallway, 6th floor. Not on any diagram, it stretched forever, reflected into darkness. At the end, we saw a man standing still, looked like the architect, but older, pale, hands pressed to the glass, smiling. We blinked, and he was gone. The next day, the office layout had changed, and none of us remember the exit ever being that far away. 3. My apartment wasn't there yesterday. Shifting rooms, unseen tenants, apartment that appears overnight. I've lived on the 10th floor for 3 years, unit 1005. Last night, the elevator stopped at a floor I didn't recognize in half, just a single hallway, just one door. Apartment 1005B. And taped to it, a note with my name on it. "We've been waiting for you." I ran. I told the doorman. He told me, "That floor doesn't exist anymore." But every time I ride the elevator now, it stops there, and the note keeps changing. Last time it said, "You already live here. Go check your lease." I did. It now reads Sha 5B. 4. The house drew itself. Living sketch, blueprints come to life, recursive construction. I inherited a roll of architectural plans from my grandfather. Scribbled in red ink with no measurements, I unrolled them on my kitchen table. That night, my walls began to shift. The kitchen door moved 6 inches left. The hallway gained an extra turn. By the end of the week, I had rooms I didn't build. A staircase to nowhere. A door behind the fridge. One room was just a chair and a mirror. The chair faced the mirror, nothing else. Every morning, the blueprints are slightly longer, as if someone is still drawing, and I can't find my way to the front door anymore. 5. The forbidden level under the library. Academic horror, secret blueprints, floor that rewrites itself. I work maintenance at an old university library. The elevator has a button labeled B3. There's no basement 3. Press it anyway, and the elevator drops for far too long. When the doors open, it's not bookshelves, just one massive atrium, walls lined with doors made of paper. The floor is soft. It shifts underfoot. There's no light source, but it's always dimly lit. One of the professors told me the building was designed by a man who believed architecture should trap ideas, make knowledge bleed. Now, when I walk the upper floors, I hear books whispering in voices that match mine, and I've forgotten what the main floor even looks like. This house was meant for something else. Blueprint mismatch, ritual house, rooms that serve a hidden purpose. We moved into a strange home in the woods. It was cheap but oddly shaped. Everything felt off-center. The rooms weren't square. The hallways were sloped. Every window faced another house that didn't exist. Then I found the original blueprints under the floorboards, but they weren't labeled living room or kitchen. They were labeled witness chamber, sacrifice hold, channel vein. There was a spiral drawn through the house, connecting every corner, and in the center, mouth. We tried to leave, but each door just opens deeper inside. And last night the house sighed, like it was finally full. Let me know if you want a third set. There's a lake about 40 minutes outside of town that no one talks about anymore. It doesn't show up on Google Maps, and if you try to drive there, your GPS will reroute you around it like it's a glitch. The locals call it Mirror Still. They used to fish there in the 60s before the drownings started. People say the water's too calm, that it doesn't ripple when the wind blows, that if you stand still long enough on the shoreline, you'll see someone walking beneath the surface, only they're wearing your clothes. I didn't believe any of it. My brother vanished there when I was 12. He went camping with 2 friends and never came back. They found one body in the trees, impaled on a broken branch 20 feet off the ground. The other one was found 3 days later, face down in a field half a mile away. But my brother was never found. I waited years for an answer. When I turned 25, I went back. The tree where they found the first body was still there, blackened by lightning, as if something tried to burn away the memory. I walked past it, deeper into the woods, until I found the shoreline. That's when the silence hit me. It wasn't natural. Not the kind of quiet you find when you're alone in the forest. It was pressurized, like sound had been vacuumed out of the world. Even my footsteps didn't make noise. The lake stretched out in front of me, perfect and undisturbed. It didn't smell like water. It smelled like glass left out in the sun too long. I called my brother's name. Nothing. Then I heard something behind me, leaves crunching. I turned, but no one was there. The trees swayed, but the lake stayed still, like it was holding its breath. I should have left then, should have turned around and pretended I'd never come. But I walked to the edge and looked down, and there he was, standing beneath the surface. My brother. Same shirt he wore the day he left, same backpack, same sneakers, but he wasn't moving, just staring up. His eyes were open, mouth too. I reached for him. The water didn't feel wet. It felt like static, like touching a muted TV screen. I leaned closer and his mouth moved. He whispered something. My name. I don't remember falling in. I don't remember being pulled under, but the next thing I knew, I was in the water with him. Only he wasn't my brother anymore. His face was wrong, too long, too wide. His jaw unhinged slightly as he whispered it again. My name, over and over. The surface was gone, no light, only the pressure of memory sinking around me. Then I woke up on the shore, alone, dry. The sun was rising and the lake was gone. In its place, just a dry crater full of broken branches and bones that looked far too human. But when I looked behind me, I saw footprints leading back into the trees. Not mine. I followed them for a few yards before I noticed it. Every tree I passed whispered my name, and somewhere beneath the soil, something whispered back. No one lives in house number 9. Haunted house, neighborhood legend, forbidden return. Everyone in my neighborhood knows not to talk about house number 9. It's been empty for decades. The windows are black. The grass never grows. And yet every Thursday morning, the garbage can is full. When I was a kid, my friend Jace dared me to touch the front door, said it was just an old house with bad wiring. I walked up the steps, knocked once, and something knocked back. We ran. 2 days later, Jace vanished. His bike was found in front of the house, upright, still spinning. Now, 30 years later, I drove past it again, and I swear I saw Jace standing in the window. Same clothes, same bike helmet, same look in his eyes. He looked older now, but only by 2 days. 2. The house that changed its address, untraceable house, shifting location, impossible return. I rented a small home on the edge of a quiet town, tucked into a cul-de-sac that didn't exist on any map. The landlord said it was temporary housing, cheap rent. No questions. Every night I heard voices beneath the floorboards. Not whispers, full conversations. They repeated in loops, always ending in a scream I never heard begin. I left after a week. When I tried to return with police, the house was gone. Lot was empty, no foundation, no records, no rental history. But a week later I found the same house in a completely different town. Same number, same red curtains, and someone new was living inside. They looked just like me. 3. The family that never left. New homeowners, trapped family, repeating hauntings. When we moved into the farmhouse, the seller warned us not to use the basement, said it was structurally unstable. We listened for the first month. Then we found the hatch under the rug. I opened it. At the bottom of the stairs were chairs, still warm, dinner plates, dustless shelves, and a mirror that didn't reflect us. It showed a family seated at the table. Our family. Same faces, but their mouths were sewn shut. When we backed away, they stood up, and one of them whispered, "Don't leave us here again." The hatch slammed shut. We've been trying to move ever since, but no one can find our address. Even on Google Earth, we're not there. 4. Room 0 doesn't exist, but I lived in it. Impossible floor plan, vanishing tenant, architectural horror. I was subletting a unit in a Victorian-style house with split rooms labeled A through G. The hallway ended in room 7. But on the third night, I found a door labeled Shh. It was never there before. I opened it. Inside, wallpapered walls, antique furniture, and the sound of breathing that didn't match mine. No windows. Just a bed that was already warm. Every time I closed my eyes in room 0, I saw my apartment's hallway. But the lights were off, and someone was always walking toward me. I tried to move out. My stuff was gone. Lease terminated. I checked the building layout. There's no room 0, but I still get mail addressed to it. #5. They keep moving back in. Previous family never left. Welcome notes from the dead. The house we bought was beautiful. High ceilings, big porch. Cheap because of an incident, the realtor said. We moved in anyway. The first week, I found a note under the fridge. "We don't mind sharing. Just don't open the attic." We thought it was a prank. Then came the footsteps. The dirty dishes left out. The second toothbrush in the bathroom that none of us used. We opened the attic on the 7th night. Found 4 sets of clothing folded neatly. Still warm. A mirror with no reflection. And a note pinned to the wall. "We told you not to. Now we can't leave." Every time we walk out the front door, we wake up in bed again. And there's always one more plate set at the table. The house that buried itself. Living house, structural hunger, forgotten tenants. There was a property on the edge of the woods that only shows up after it rains. Locals call it the house that buried itself. People say it was built on cursed soil, that the foundation never dried, and the house kept sinking slowly over time, eating its own history. One day, it wasn't on the surface anymore. Then it came back. Looking newer, more modern. Each time it rises, it wears a different era like a disguise. 1920s one year. Brutalist concrete the next. They say if you step inside, you won't know what decade it is. And when you try to leave, the door just opens to more house. Deeper, older, hungrier. One man claimed he made it out. His hair turned white, his eyes wouldn't focus. When asked what he saw in the basement, he only said, "Rooms full of people who never realized they'd been eaten."